Have you ever felt like the universe has a way of balancing things out when you least expect it? This story might just restore your faith in cosmic justice. If you're moved by what you're about to hear, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more incredible true-life stories that remind us of our shared humanity. The rain fell in sheets against the windows of Donovan Tower as Travis Reynolds emptied the trash bins on the executive floor. At 42, with salt and pepper stubble and eyes that had seen too much hardship, Travis wasn't where he'd imagined he'd be at this point in his life. But life had other plans that included losing his wife Rachel to a drunk driver 3 years ago, leaving him to raise their son Max alone. "Mr. Reynolds," came a sharp voice from the corner office. "A word, please." Alexis Donovan, CEO of Donovan Industries, stood in the doorway, her tailored burgundy suit a stark contrast to Travis's worn gray uniform. At 38, she'd inherited the company when her father Jonathan unexpectedly passed away 6 weeks earlier. The whispers around the building said she was brilliant but ruthless, more concerned with quarterly projections than people. "Yes, Ms. Donovan?" Travis straightened up, feeling the familiar ache in his lower back from hours of bending and lifting. "There's been a complaint about the bathrooms on this floor. The sink in my private bathroom is still dripping, and I specifically mentioned it yesterday." Her tone was clipped, impatient. "I apologize, Ms. Donovan. Maintenance said they ordered the part, but it's been delayed. I'll follow up right away. See that you do." She turned to go, then stopped. "And the conference room needs to be prepared for tomorrow's board meeting. 7 a.m. sharp." Travis checked his watch. It was already 7:30 p.m., and he'd promised Max he'd be home in time to help with his science project. "I'll take care of it first thing." "No. Tonight. The janitorial service exists to meet the needs of this company, Mr. Reynolds, not your personal schedule." With that, she disappeared back into her office, leaving Travis standing there, phone in hand, dreading the call he now had to make to his 10-year-old son. An hour later, as Travis was polishing the massive conference table to a mirror shine, the door swung open. Alexis stormed in, phone pressed to her ear. "I don't care what their lawyers say. We're not settling." Her gaze landed on Travis, and she covered the mouthpiece. "I need the quarterly reports from my desk. Bring them here immediately." When Travis returned with the stack of binders, he found her pacing, still on the call. He placed them quietly on the table and turned to leave. "Wait," she called out after ending her call. "These are the wrong reports. I need the ones labeled, confidential, board eyes only. The red binders." "Ms. Donovan, I'm not sure I should be handling confidential." "Do I pay you to think, Mr. Reynolds?" she cut in coldly. "Just get the binders." Travis made his way to her office, trying to ignore the knot in his stomach. This wasn't right, but he couldn't afford to lose this job. Max's asthma medication alone cost nearly $300 a month, even with insurance. As he carefully collected the red binders from her desk, he noticed a photograph he hadn't seen before. It showed a younger Alexis with an older man, presumably her father Jonathan, standing on a fishing boat, both smiling widely. It was jarring to see such joy on the face of someone who now seemed incapable of it. Turning to leave, Travis's elbow caught the frame, sending it crashing to the floor. The glass shattered instantly. He dropped to his knees, carefully picking up the photo amid the broken glass. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Alexis stood in the doorway, her face a mask of fury. "I'm so sorry, Ms. Donovan. It was an accident." Travis held out the photo, now separated from its broken frame. "The photo isn't damaged." "Put that down," she snapped, snatching the picture from his hands. "This was a gift from my father. Do you have any idea how valuable this was to me?" "I understand. I'll replace the frame." "You're fired." The words fell like a gavel. "Effective immediately. Clear out your locker and turn in your badge to security on your way out." Ms. Donovan, please, Travis said quietly, maintaining his dignity despite the panic flooding his system. I'm a single father. My son depends on me. I need this job. You should have thought about that before handling things that weren't yours to touch. Her voice was ice. Security will escort you out. As Travis emptied his locker in the basement, the security guard, Pete, stood awkwardly nearby. Tough break, man. The Ice Queen claims another victim. It's all right, Travis said, though it wasn't. Rules are rules. Still, it's rough. Especially after what you've been through. Travis paused. What do you mean? Pete looked uncomfortable. Nothing, man. Just, heard about your wife. That's tough. But something in Pete's expression suggested there was more to it. That night, Travis sat at his kitchen table after Max had gone to bed, staring at the pile of bills and his nearly empty checking account. 6 months ago, he'd had a decent job in construction, but the company had folded. The janitorial position had been a lifeline, until tonight. Across town, Alexis poured herself a glass of whiskey in her penthouse apartment. The broken photo sat on her coffee table, carefully removed from the shattered glass. Her father smiling back at her, a rare moment captured from her childhood when he'd actually taken a day off work. Her phone rang, breaking the silence. It was Graham Whitaker, her father's personal attorney. Alexis, I apologize for calling so late, but there's been a development regarding your father's estate. What kind of development? She asked, immediately on guard. I think it's best discussed in person. Can you come to my office first thing tomorrow? Just tell me now, Graham, she demanded. The attorney sighed. Very well. In reviewing the final version of your father's will, we've discovered a codicil he added approximately 3 months before his death. He left a significant portion of his personal estate, approximately $15 million, to someone named Travis Reynolds. Alexis nearly dropped her glass. Travis Reynolds? The janitor? You know him? Graham sounded surprised. I fired him tonight, she said numbly. Why would my father leave money to the building janitor? I don't know. But there's more, he left a letter for you, to be opened only in the event that this codicil was discovered. The next morning, Alexis sat in Graham's wood-paneled office as he handed her an envelope with her name written in her father's distinctive handwriting. With trembling fingers, she broke the seal. My dear Alexis. Asterisk if you're reading this, then I've passed on, and you've learned about my bequest to Travis Reynolds. You're likely confused, perhaps even angry. You have every right to be. There are things I've never told you, things I've been too ashamed to admit, asterisk. Asterisk 20 years ago, I was driving home after celebrating a major business deal. I had too much to drink, but I foolishly got behind the wheel anyway. On a rainy night much like the one when we took that photo on the boat, I struck a young woman crossing the street. Her name was Rachel Reynolds, asterisk. Asterisk I panicked. Instead of stopping to help, I drove away. It's the most cowardly thing I've ever done, and I've carried that shame every day since. Rachel survived, but she suffered injuries that would plague her for the rest of her life. I anonymously paid for her medical expenses through a series of shell corporations, but I never had the courage to face her or her husband, Travis, asterisk. Asterisk 3 years ago, Rachel died due to complications from those injuries. The guilt became unbearable. I learned that Travis was struggling to support their son alone, so I arranged for him to be hired at Donovan Tower. I've watched him work tirelessly, maintaining his dignity despite everything life has thrown at him, asterisk. Asterisk the money I've left him can never make up for what I did, but perhaps it can give him and his son the future I stole from them. I know this revelation may change how you see me, Alexis. I hope you can find it in your heart to understand that even the people we think we know completely can harbor terrible secrets, asterisk. Asterisk I've observed how you run the company since making you CEO 2 years ago. You're brilliant and driven, just as I raised you to be. But I fear I taught you to value success over compassion. Don't make my mistakes, Alexis. Don't wait until it's too late to recognize the humanity in others, asterisk. With love and regret. Dad. Alexis folded the letter with shaking hands, her mind reeling. Her father, the man who had taught her that business always came first, that weakness was unacceptable, had been living with this secret for decades. I need to find Travis Reynolds, she said finally. Graham cleared his throat. That might be difficult. According to HR, his address on file is over a year old. His emergency contact is listed as his son's school. Then that's where I'll start, Alexis said, already rising from her chair. Finding Travis proved more challenging than expected. The address on file led to an apartment building where he no longer lived. The school was reluctant to give out information until Alexis explained part of the situation, that Travis was named in an inheritance and they were having trouble locating him. Finally, a sympathetic school secretary mentioned that Travis and Max had moved to a smaller apartment in Riverdale after Rachel's death. The apartment building was in a working-class neighborhood, a far cry from Alexis's luxury penthouse. She knocked on the door of Unit 3B, heart pounding inexplicably in her chest. The door opened to reveal a young boy with curious eyes and his father's jawline. "Can I help you?" he asked politely. "Is your father home?" Alexis asked, suddenly unsure of herself. "Dad," the boy called over his shoulder. "Someone's here to see you." Travis appeared behind his son, his expression changing from curiosity to wariness when he saw Alexis. "Ms. Donovan," he said evenly. "This is unexpected." "May I come in?" she asked. "I need to speak with you about something important." Travis hesitated, then nodded, placing a protective hand on his son's shoulder. "Max, why don't you work on your science project in your room for a bit?" "But Dad, it's almost finished. I want to show you the solar system I made." "I'll come see it soon, buddy. Promise." Once Max had reluctantly retreated to his room, Travis turned to Alexis. "If you're here to have me sign something about my termination." "No," she interrupted. "It's about my father." Travis frowned. "I never met your father." "He knew you," Alexis said quietly. "Or rather, he knew your wife." She handed him the letter, watching as confusion gave way to shock and then to something deeper, a pain so profound it was almost tangible. When he looked up, his eyes were glistening with unshed tears. "All this time," he whispered, "Rachel always wondered who hit her that night. The doctor said if she'd gotten help sooner, her internal injuries might not have been so severe." His hands trembled as he returned the letter. "And now he wants to ease his conscience with money." $15 million, Alexis said. "That's what he left you." Travis laughed humorlessly. $15 million. As if that could replace Rachel. As if that could give Max back his mother. "It can't," Alexis agreed softly. "Nothing can. But it can secure Max's future. It can make sure he never has to worry about college or medical bills or—" "I don't want his money," Travis cut in. "I don't want anything from the man who left my wife broken in the street and drove away." From the hallway came a small voice. "Dad? Are you okay?" Max stood in the doorway, concern written across his young face. Travis quickly wiped his eyes. "I'm fine, buddy. Just a grown-up conversation." "Is it about Mom?" Max asked perceptively. Travis and Alexis exchanged a look. "Sort of," Travis admitted. "This is Ms. Donovan. She knew someone who knew Mom." Max studied Alexis with solemn eyes. "Did you know my mom was an astronomer? She taught me all the constellations. We used to lay on a blanket in the backyard and look at the stars." Something in Alexis's carefully constructed facade cracked. "I didn't know that," she said gently. "She sounds wonderful." "She was," Max said simply. "Dad says she's watching us from the biggest telescope in heaven now." In that moment, looking at this child who had lost so much and the father who continued to protect him despite his own grief, Alexis felt something shift inside her. The weight of her father's confession, her own complicity in a corporate culture that treated people as disposable, the realization that she had fired a man who had already suffered unimaginable loss because of her family, it was overwhelming. "Mr. Reynolds, Travis," she began hesitantly. "I understand if you don't want the money. But would you consider using it to establish a foundation in Rachel's name? For astronomy education, perhaps? Something that would honor her memory while helping others." Travis looked at her thoughtfully. "Why are you doing this? Yesterday you couldn't fire me fast enough." "Yesterday I didn't know who you were," she admitted. "Who I was, really. My father's letter, it made me see things differently." Over the next few hours, as Max proudly showed off his solar system project, with Jupiter slightly lopsided but endearingly detailed, Alexis and Travis talked. Really talked, as equals rather than CEO and janitor. About Rachel. About Jonathan Donovan and his cowardice. About guilt and grief and the possibility of redemption. "I still want you to come back to Donovan Industries," Alexis said eventually. Travis raised an eyebrow. "As a janitor?" "No," she said firmly. "Before working at Donovan, your resume mentions experience in project management for Blackwell Construction. We need someone to oversee the renovation of our satellite offices. Someone detail-oriented, reliable, and with actual construction knowledge." "You don't have to do this out of guilt," Travis said. "I'm not," she replied honestly. "I'm doing it because it makes business sense. And because it's the right thing to do." 6 months later, the Rachel Reynolds Foundation for Astronomical Education awarded its first scholarships to 10 promising students from underprivileged backgrounds. Travis, as its director, presented the awards at a ceremony attended by educators and business leaders from across the city, including Alexis Donovan, whose company had matched the foundation's funding. The renovation project had been completed under Travis's supervision, coming in under budget and ahead of schedule. He had proven himself so capable that Alexis had promoted him to head of facilities management for all Donovan properties. More surprising was the change in Alexis herself. The "Ice Queen" moniker had gradually faded as she instituted new company policies that valued employee well-being alongside productivity. The quarterly reports showed that morale, and profits, were up. Most unexpected of all was the friendship that had developed between Alexis and young Max. It began with discussions about his science projects, evolved into weekend trips to the planetarium, and culminated in Alexis attending his school science fair, where his project on light pollution won first place. On the anniversary of Jonathan Donovan's death, Alexis visited his grave alone. She placed a single white rose on the headstone and stood in silence for a long moment. "You were right about so many things, Dad," she said finally. "But so wrong about others. I thought being successful meant never showing weakness, never admitting mistakes. I thought it meant putting business before people." She touched the cold marble gently. "I understand now why you couldn't face what you'd done. But your greatest mistake wasn't hitting Rachel that night, it was driving away afterward. It was choosing cowardice over accountability." She took a deep breath of the crisp autumn air. "I'm trying to be braver than that. To face my mistakes. To see people as people, not assets or liabilities." A small smile crossed her face. "Max is helping me with that. He sees the world with such clarity. Such forgiveness." As she turned to leave, her phone buzzed with a text from Travis. Max's telescope finally arrived. He insists you come over to be the first to use it. Apparently, Saturn is perfectly visible tonight. Alexis smiled as she typed her reply, wouldn't miss it for the world. Later that evening, as the three of them huddled on Travis's small balcony, taking turns peering through the telescope at the ringed planet glowing in the night sky, Alexis realized something profound. The inheritance her father had left wasn't just the company or his fortune, it was this moment of redemption, this chance to rewrite the story of the Donovan family legacy. The janitor her father had named in his will hadn't needed money to teach her about dignity and forgiveness. And perhaps that had been Jonathan's final gift to his daughter, not the empire he had built, but the opportunity to dismantle the walls she had constructed around her heart. As Max excitedly pointed out constellations, naming them just as his mother had taught him, Alexis caught Travis's eye over his son's head. The understanding that passed between them needed no words. Some debts could never be repaid, some wounds never fully healed. But in choosing compassion over indifference, connection over isolation, they had found something neither expected, the beginning of peace. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful tales of redemption, connection, and the unexpected ways our lives intersect with others. Remember, sometimes the most important lessons come from the most unlikely teachers, even a CEO who fired a single dad janitor, only to find his name in her father's will.